Hey, it's Allie with Seattle Coffee Gear, and today we're doing a crew comparison between the Rancilio Rocky grinder and the Eureka Notte, which is an exclusive to Seattle Coffee Gear. So basically, these are at about the same price point, and you probably pair them up with similar machines. So we want to go over the similarities, differences, and see which one would be a better fit for you. So both of these grinders, while they have very different looks, they actually have the same size burr. 50 millimeter flat burrs on both. So flat burrs are usually more consistent, and they're usually better geared for something like espresso. So overall, these two kind of do the same thing in a different way. On the Notte, this is actually a stepless adjustment, which means you have infinite amount of settings. You can make tiny adjustments, large adjustments, and that's actually affecting the bottom burr. So that is directly affecting how close or far away they are from each other. So you can get pretty specific with an infinite burr adjustment. Mostly though, infinite burrs are seen more commonly on espresso grinders than they are on non-espresso. But that adjustment, while it is infinite, it gives you more options, but it can be a little bit trickier to get right. Whereas something like the Rocky, that actually has pre-set up steps, which you can see in the numbers. This goes from 0 all the way to 55. And the Rocky's actually really good at doing a full range of grind settings. You can go all the way from espresso down to that French press grind. You can sometimes get away with Turkish, depending. Not ideal. Really, any electric grinders, they're really hard to do Turkish because of how fine you have to get. But basically, this one does a nice range and makes it pretty easy to go back and forth. Neither of these grinders has a timed dose. They're both going to be manual. So this one is activated on the front with a little portafilter push button. This one is actually activated on the bottom with a little handheld button here as well. The adjustment for the Notte is actually just by this dial. And anytime you're adjusting, you want to make sure you're grinding while you're doing that, especially with this infinite adjustment. That's going to be more important. So this is basically directly influencing that. Now, the Rocky is going to be a little bit more complicated as far as adjusting. That is probably one of the biggest negatives of this grinder. You have to do this weird handhold thing where if you're grinding while you're adjusting, you hold, push the button, grind. So it takes a little bit of finesse, if you will. Most people, once you get used to it, not a big deal, but it is a little bit more difficult to adjust than the Notte. What else can we say about these? The hopper itself on the Notte will hold 12 ounces, where the Rocky holds 8. Obviously a little bit different design-wise. I'm kind of fond of the little gonzo nose on the front, but it definitely has a certain look to it. The Rocky is known for being a really well-built grinder to last a long time, and usually is paired pretty frequently because of the fact that it does have that nice range. The Notte is newer, but Eureka has been around for a long time making grinders for both home and commercial. So this one will have pretty much about the same lifespan. If you're changing your burrs out and doing all the proper maintenance, you should get plenty of life out of both. Now, realistically, I think the sound of these might be about the same, but I'm going to try them out in front of you on camera so you can get an idea for yourself and just to see how they work. So plastic fork on the front here. I'm just going to rest my little plate and hit the button so you can get an idea for the sound. So have to hold your hand on that button there to make the grind work. I had a nice espresso grind, which you can see here. We'll compare those in a minute. And this will be my Rocky grinder. I think I had this one on a coarser adjustment when I left off, but you can get an idea for the grind sound here. You're going to have a little bit more retention in this too because of that nose style, but if you're doing big batches of coffee or bulk, not as big of a deal. So a little bit different there. And then these are the extremes. So I tried to get as close as possible on the grind size just so we could get a good comparison. So if we're looking at these coarser grinds, the Notte, while it's designed for espresso, can do more like a pour over grind as well if you wanted to use it that way. So it's pretty consistent, not as consistent, I think, as the Rocky on these coarser ones. I think the Rocky might win in that aspect. But when you get down to the fine espresso grinds, this is a lot more smooth, fluffy, consistent. You can see where the Rocky will start to chunk up. I think that has a lot to do with the way that the dose is on this one. Still great grinds. They're pretty even. It just has a little bit more clumping involved. Yeah, I think that's about it. If you have any questions on these two grinders, we'd be happy to help. You can leave them in the comments below or reach out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we will see you next time.